live in Western Oregon. This is NBC 16 News at 5:30.
First at 5:30, a class of drugs that many Americans depend on is coming under fire from the Trump administration. Good evening and thanks for joining us for NBC 16 News at 5:30. I'm Alan Matthews.
And I'm Gold Meadows. The Make America Healthy Again Commission, created by President Donald Trump last week, will tackle what the White House calls a growing health crisis in America, with selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors, or SSRIs, among its concerns. In recent weeks, Department of Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who heads the commission, said the drugs like Lexapro and Zoloft can be harder to wean off of than heroin. On the White House's website, one of the commission's tasks is to determine, quote, the prevalence of and threat posed by the prescription of selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors and other mood-stabilizing drugs. One Portland-based child psychiatrist says the benefits must be considered during the analysis.
We acknowledge that there is potential risk to the treatment, but for conditions that are moderate amount of impact or higher that relates to anxiety disorders and depression, if other pieces are there, like therapy or other modification plans, often the benefits do greatly outweigh the risks, because the risks could be quite low, but with monitoring. If I do start a medication like that for a child or a teen, we have a plan of seeing them closely.
SSRIs take one of the brain's tiny messengers, or neurotransmitters, called serotonin, which regulates mood, sleep, and appetite and keeps it from reabsorption or reuptake, so there's more of it available in the brain.
These medications are not forever medicines, and like any medical treatment where you might take a pain medicine for some time and have recovery, they're prescribed, for a certain amount of time. Medicines that have shorter half-life, it requires 1 or 2 weeks if you're on a higher dose to take a smaller dose and get off the medication. If they're having a hard time coming off it and mentally they're experiencing symptoms, actually it's not the medication usually causing withdrawal. The mental health symptoms are coming back.
Dr. Pausawi says SSRIs aren't prescribed to children often, but they can be used for anxiety disorder, panic attacks, and clinical depression. According to the Oregon Health Authority, since 2011, suicide rates have been rising nationwide for youth 10 to 24, with numbers in the state remaining above the national average.
The Glide Rural Fire District in eastern Douglas County wants to improve response times for emergencies, calling for more volunteers. NBC 16's Rigo Aguilera visited the district.
To increase volunteer numbers, the Glide Fire District spends time getting involved in both the community and local schools. For many Glide students, the firefighting experiences inspire them to find their passion.
I wanted to volunteer because my brothers and my family, they have all worked for Forest Service and firefighting, and I would have wanted to join them.
District officials say their volunteers respond to over 600 emergency calls a year, averaging around 4 to 5 calls a day. And the more people they can recruit, the less calls will slip through the cracks.
The majority of volunteers that we have are people who maybe 2 or 3 times a month come in. If you spread that out, and let's say 1 or 2 come in every now and then, with 40 or some odd, which is about what we have at this current point, we're able to maintain a level of about 8 people responding at one point in time. Unfortunately, that's not consistent. Sometimes we may miss a call because we'll be out on a run, another call come in, and we don't have a certain level of volunteers.
By showing high school students what the fire district does on a daily basis, many students end up with an appreciation for learning about fire science.
I love learning about all the tenders and all the engines that are around us currently. I love to learn about the fire hoses, even the forcible entry doors. I do love to learn about.
No prior firefighting or emergency medical service experience is needed to join as a volunteer. Some positions the district has includes driving trucks, handling gear, and doing various office work. Reporting in Glide, I'm Rigo Aguilera.
And an update to a story from last week where an apartment fire in Springfield resulted in 17 cats being taken in by Springfield Animal Control. On February 12th, Green Hill was given the cats following the fire. All of the cats needed emergency care in some form, whether it was oxygen or burn treatments. Unfortunately, 3 of the cats, young kittens, passed away due to their injuries. The rest are doing well, according to Green Hill, and are on their way to recovering.
team here worked beautifully to help triage the situation, and they're all coming around and really presenting their personalities. We do have the ability to continue to monitor them regularly to make sure that their care continues, and they're all really just truly walking little miracles.
4 of the cats are currently up for adoption. The remaining felines are still being treated for their injuries until they're healthy enough to be adopted as well. Well, moving now to weather with a live look over Eugene tonight. Alan Matthews has a look at your first forecast, and all I can say is I felt like I was in a different season today. I really did.
You know, temperatures really weren't all that different than they were yesterday, maybe a few degrees warmer, but I think the fact it didn't rain, and look at that gorgeous sunset we got going on right now. That's absolutely beautiful. A nice view, and let's show you what's going on right now. As we are at 55 degrees in Eugene under a mostly cloudy sky, a northwest wind at 8, and our humidity at 62%. Now, as we take a look at the radar satellite, and it all just depends on where you were at and during what time of the day, because we've generally seen mostly sunny to partly cloudy skies throughout, and we'll continue to see that clear to partly cloudy sky this evening until we get late tonight into early Friday morning. Now, as we look ahead toward tonight and your day on Friday, we'll be looking at that cloud cover on the increase late tonight into early tomorrow morning. Those overnight temperatures generally in the mid to upper 30s. Highs tomorrow will be in the mid to upper 50s. And as we look at your weather headlines, could see some patchy fog to get your day off to a start tomorrow. And then the rain's going to start returning early tomorrow evening, maybe in the late afternoon hours for the coast. And then we are looking at heavy rainfall for the upcoming weekend. We're going to break it all down with your full forecast in just a bit. Go.
Thank you, Alan. A sense of loss rather than anger after 2 metal plates listing the names of veterans from World War II were stolen from a local church. The 2 plates were part of a 5-piece display located in the Memorial Park at the Bethesda Lutheran Church in West Eugene. They contain the names of dozens of veterans, some of whom were killed in action. The theft was discovered Wednesday by a volunteer, but the church's pastor says the theft could have happened a couple of days before. He says the theft is hitting the community hard.
This kind of a loss strikes a different chord. You know, it hurts people who care for veterans, who are veterans, and it sends a different kind of message, or it just hits different. And so this is a real a new one in that sense.
Pastor Tom Welch says EPD is on the case, but he's also relying on the community for help. And the church is offering hundreds of dollars in reward money for information that brings those plates back. If the plates aren't recovered, he says they will be replaced.
The White Bird Clinic has announced a new interim executive director 2 months after the nonprofit closed down its front rooms department, which provided services to some of the area's most vulnerable communities. The clinic announced today that Amy Marquardt has been named to the position. She worked at White Bird for close to 18 years. She succeeds Jeremy Gates. The nonprofit said in a media release that Marquardt is a, quote, tireless advocate for the vulnerable Lane County residents that White Bird serves. Marquardt will become the first female director in the organization's over 50-year history.
The Coos Bay and North Bend area is down to just 1 dog park. NBC 16's Lexi Ryan has more on how residents feel about it and the path to providing more for dog owners in the future.
The Airport Heights Dog Park in North Bend closed February 3rd, and some residents who use the park regularly says that its closure is a loss for the community when it comes to physical and mental health, along with the area's general appeal.
I just was amazed not knowing the implications socially of what a dog park could mean for a community with paraplegics, amputees, people with Alzheimer's, loners, people with PTSD. I'm a disabled veteran with PTSD. And I encountered so many interesting people. Now that's gone away and I isolate. And it's not good for me and it's not good for my dog.
From a financial point of view, which the city might be interested in, it brings in people. We've had a lot of tourists come through town and they'll just shake their head at this small park and move on.
The Coos County Airport District says the decision to close the park was made due to a lack of volunteers willing to maintain the property.
We just don't have the capacity of volunteers stepping up to help maintain it.
But there were other concerns among volunteers as well.
This area here, the ground is not manageable at this time. Would have to redo the whole ground area. The park is satisfied for small dogs, but as far as bigger dogs, it's just not enough room, and so the dogs tear up the ground.
North Bend officials says the city does not have the staffing and manpower to maintain a dog park due to a $1 million deficit.
The council had us go out and survey the community, and they came back, and their top priorities were indeed roads, housing, and public safety. And so with $1 million budget shortfall, we're going to have to look at cuts.
But there is potential for change if residents push it.
We don't have the funds, but if the community and partners step up, we can explore options. We'd have to have a good location, money to build and maintain it, and voter approval for any fees.
In Coos County, I'm Lexi Ryan.
Now, the only dog park still open in North Bend and Coos Bay is Gracieland Dog Park. It's less than an acre in size, and it's located at and owned by Coos Bay Toyota.
Well, happening this weekend, the 87th Logging Conference is back in Eugene. The annual logging conference kicked off this morning at the Lane County Fairgrounds. Tomorrow is the Future Forestry Workers Day at the conference, where hundreds of high schoolers from around our area will get a hands-on look at forestry equipment, participate in logging games, and speak with industry professionals about possible future careers in the field. This year's theme for the conference is Timber Builds Dreams.
And on Saturday is Family Day, so anybody that sees this, if you want to bring the family out, bring the kids out, come see the big equipment. We've got a Saturday show here, just a really good time, and it's a great opportunity for us to get to expose the public to an industry that's usually out in the middle of nowhere and a lot of people don't get to see.
Family Day will consist of a number of activities like paper making, birdhouse building, seedling giveaways alongside other forestry-related activities. Chainsaw carvers will also be at the fairgrounds showing off their talents as well. The conference ends on Saturday.
And tomorrow, Roots and Resilience, Chinese Heritage in Oregon will open its exhibit to the public at the University of Oregon's Museum of Natural and Cultural History. The exhibit will have artifacts from archaeological digs around the state, featuring the work of Chinese workers who worked on Oregon's railroad, mining, and canning industries, showcasing the long storied history of Chinese immigrants within the state. The exhibit is set to open tomorrow at 6 p.m. and will be available through 2026.